Up, everybody, and welcome. What am I hearing now? What is that noise? What am I hearing? What's up, everybody? Welcome to a brand new episode of the Hot Mic here on the Outlaw Nation channel. I am the Outlaw John Rocha, joined as always, by the Sneider man. Who is? Are you there, man? You're frozen. You're going a little in and out. Are you there?
I am.
Oh no,
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, I think.
Why is this happening?
Oh, you. I know you're stopping and starting. Are you on the Ethernet cord yet or not? I keep telling you to get on the Ethernet cord. Oh, are you good now?
No, I haven't been.
Or are you frozen?
Yes,
okay.
I'm here.
Now you.
Hello, Johnny boy.
What's up, Jeff?
Too many tabs open. That's what I've been doing. I've been closing tabs.
Yeah, you gotta close some tabs, man. You can't have too much things from like 2015. It's not gonna work, man.
I don't even want to know what I have.
Jeff, later on, Jeff's going to give us 5 minutes from his roast of Tom Brady. That's going to come up a little bit later. I hope you all are prepared for that. He's got some Giselle jokes. He's got some Robert Kraft jokes. Everybody get ready for those. But we are here for another episode of the Hot Mic, having a lot of fun today. We're going to talk about all the stuff going on in the world of entertainment. Some breaking news that just happened that's Fantastic Four related. Some more Marvel news, some Ryan Coogler news. Get into that Gollum story that broke today and so many other things that are going on here in the world of entertainment. We don't want to waste too much time with the chit chat, so we're going to get into it. So remind you all to please send in your Streamlabs and Super Chats as we go along, and subscribe to the channel down below, and also subscribe to Jeff's newsletter that's out there for you all to subscribe at theinsnider.com. All right, Jeff, let's not waste any time. Let's get into it. First story broke just as we were coming on air. Ralph Ineson, noted British actor, is now going to be playing Galactus in the Fantastic Four movie. Big shock here. You know, we had talked about on this show that it was possibly going to be Javier Bardem, and other names have been kicked around, but it is Ralph Ineson of Harry Potter fame, of the Green Knight fame, of Game of Thrones fame, a guy who's the creator. He's really been building himself up over the last few years, and certainly seeing he's in the Frankenstein movie around with Guillermo del Toro. So what's your reaction to an actor who isn't that big of a name necessarily, but he's certainly well known amongst actors and amongst people who like movies, but not a big name like Javier Bardem or other people? So what's your feeling on this? Did this surprise you, or is this one you'd kind of heard about in the wind?
I mean, John, this comes down to money.
Yeah, let's talk about it. I had the same feeling. Let's talk about it. Yes.
Like, if you guys think Ralph Ineson is the first choice for this role, I got another thing coming to you. Like, I honestly, I wonder like how far down the list he was and how much money they had. They're probably just like, listen, this is a voice role. Like, we're not going to break the bank on it. At least after our, maybe our top choice passed or whatever. Bardem was the top choice. I mean, they've been talking to him for a long time, I believe. For whatever reason, they could not strike a deal clearly, whether it was just a matter of money, that he wanted too much, just like Adam Driver wanted a lot, and just like Emma Stone wanted a lot.
Yeah.
And Marvel's trying to keep the cost down a little bit on talent, or could have been scheduling. Like I said, that F1 movie with, the strike really did impact that F1 movie because they had to, wait another year for like the season.
Yeah.
He's like the third lead in that movie, basically. And he's also, I'm being told, he's being paid very well.
Oh, okay.
That's also may have been a factor where it's like, I don't really need to do this. Like, it's a good paycheck for somebody, obviously, but like if I'm getting paid handsomely on the Apple thing, maybe he doesn't need it. I mean, Ineson is good. Like, he's a good actor and he has a great voice, right? He's going to do a fine job.
Yes.
But, like, there's nothing sexy about this. You can't like put his name on the poster and say, and so as the voice of, nobody cares. Nobody knows who he is.
Yeah, and let's be real. We get it if there are film nerds, and then just like I am, who know Ralph Ineson. I like Ralph Ineson. I've always enjoyed him whenever he showed up. Great actor, fantastic voice. One of the most, that voice when you hear it type things. But yes, he's not Javier Bardem. He's not these more mainstream, huge actors that would have been an incredible splash for Marvel to land as Galactus. Do you also think this affects the role? Because I tweeted this out and I kind of threw that in as a line. Does this affect the role and how big the role is going to be? Because you don't have someone who is necessarily of a Javier Bardem type of level of fame. Are you going to adjust the role to not be as big of a role? or just be primarily just a voiceover role, because he has disappeared, like in The Green Knight, he has disappeared into these characters and embodied them with makeup and what have you. So there is CG possibilities here, but do you anticipate it'll just be more of a disembodied voice that we'll see in like some sort of CG appearance?
Yeah, I mean, I don't even know. I imagine it's just just a voice role. I don't know if it will require him to do any mocap or whatever. Maybe it will. But again, this guy is suing Disney.
Right now.
Right, because he sustained an injury to his shoulder during Willow. He says that it has limited his ability to do fight scenes and horseback riding. And obviously that's terrible if that's the case.
Right.
But it's like, is he going to be able to do mocap and like do fighting and swing at people? I don't know if that's what Galactus even does. I don't know.
He's the eater of worlds, man. He just kind of hangs out in the back, but he's connected with a Silver Surfer. So
how do you eat a world? I mean, how does your jaw get big enough? I don't understand it.
It's not easy. It's not easy. The other part of this, though, Jeff, you have to ask these questions. And look, I'm not trying to be an asshole here, but we have to ask these questions. Saving money, will it necessarily lead to a great product? And this is, there's no guarantee whether you spend a lot of money or don't spend a lot of money, but it does feel like, are they going the right route with this stuff? And is it going to have the same magic? Is it going to have the same, excitement that you want to have for a Marvel film? Vanessa Kirby is known, but she's not known. Pedro Pascal is certainly known, but a lot of people are getting a little Pedro Pascal'd out. Ebba Moss-Bachrach is known, but he's not known. There's names that are dancing around all this stuff. Same thing. Julie Gardner is known, but she's not known.
Let me ask you this. How is it any different, really, than Superman?
Yeah, Superman is what sells that movie.
And I think that's what Marvel is counting on, that Marvel and Fantastic Four is going to sell that, and that they don't need to break the bank on stars that all cost between $10 and $15 million.
Yeah.
Right.
Maybe fair. And please don't go back to the beginning of Marvel. I see so many people do this bad faith argument like nobody knew who Chris Evans was. That was back at the beginning. Marvel is not back at the beginning. Marvel is very much now an expected. They're the Lakers. I said this earlier this week. They're the Lakers. They're the Yankees. They cannot play the underdog narrative. There is an expectation that they want to get top of the line talent, and top of the line talent wants to come and act for them and be in these movies. So to me, I have concerns here. If they start to go lower and lower on the totem pole, will it necessarily yield the same kind of attraction and magic? And will people go, Jeff? We're going to talk about Bob Iger's decisions here and announcements, clarification, but you got to ask yourself, is there enough stardom here to get people to go see the movie theater, to go to the movie rather, if you're going with the lower paid stars, so to speak, for lack of a better term. And I'm sorry if I'm being clumsy about that, but that's a concern, don't you think?
But I think
I could be wrong.
Stars that people like people want to go see Pedro Pascal. Who cares if he, if he's paid less than Adam Driver right now? I'd argue that Pedro Pascal is a bigger star. He's a bigger draw than Adam Driver is, I think. But he's just not at the level because he didn't star in a Star Wars movie, so his quote maybe isn't as high. Again, I think that people who show up to these movies don't do it so much for the cast. They do it for the characters that they, read in these comic books.
Yeah.
And so it's like, you can't skimp on the action necessarily. I mean, Blade, I've heard is only 110 million. So I think before I'd said maybe it was under 100 million. Again, they've rejiggered the project a million times. Blade is definitely going to be on the lower end of things at around 110.
Yeah.
Fantastic Four, like X-Men, you have to go big with. And so if you can't skimp on the action and the scope and that kind of thing, then I think that you have to cut back on the cast.
Yeah, fair point. Well, I mean, Rob says people are showing up for the characters. That has never changed. They didn't show up for the Marvels. And they didn't show up for Kamala Khan. Ms. Marvel is supposedly one of the greatest characters in comics over the last few years. People don't show up for that. People don't show up for Spectrum. People don't show up for Captain Marvel. So it's not just showing up for the characters. That's not an excuse anymore. That's not an easy reasoning out of the situation like this. I just look at it, and I look at it as if I'm a theater owner And I'm looking at the casting here, and I'm like, okay, I like them all. They're all good actors, but are they going to be enough to put butts in seats to the numbers that I'm used to Marvel doing for my theater? So these are the concerns I have. Creatively is a separate conversation, but you look at it, I'm looking at it financially from a theater owner point of view, and I would have concerns. So I'm just throwing it out there, my man. People also hate women. Well, that's time-honored tradition. So that's the situation there. Anything more to say on that, Jeff? Do you expect any more casting? We'll get to the John Malkovich. Actually, we might as well go into that.
I was just like, well, let's talk about Malkovich. I mean, that's also an interesting one, because I thought for a second, like, could he be voicing Galactus, given how how incredible his voice is? And then I was like, nah, I don't think they're going to cast just like a white guy. And then they cast a white guy. Again, right. This was the movie that I'd sort of heard that, Kevin was concerned was already maybe too white. So I was a little bit surprised that it went to Ralph Ineson. But like you said, he was did a great job with the Green Knight and whatnot. As for Malkovich, he could be playing somebody that we know, maybe even voicing Herbie, to be honest.
I've seen that possibility is Herbie. Yeah.
I think it's totally possible. He's sarcastic, and he'd have a good back and forth with the Fantastic Four, but he could also just be playing a doctor or a scientist. The truth is, I have no idea. Yeah. But do you like this as a casting choice? It's not like Malkovich has been appearing in all these huge A-list movies. Your thoughts here? I mean, I loved him in Space Force. I thought, although that show didn't 100% work, I thought him and Carell were fantastic when they were working together. And He's always watchable, even in shit, even in absolute garbage and the direct-to-video tripe that he does a lot of. Yes. He is not Robert Redford. Robert Redford doesn't do those movies. Nope. I don't think that this has the same aura of prestige of Redford. Yeah. Or even a Glenn Close, doing Guardians. Yeah. But Malkovich is Malkovich, you have to respect him. Yeah. 100%. He's he likes to work. Yeah. There are, I was looking at some possibilities for him, and I looked at maybe either the Wizard or the Puppet Master, which are two big Fantastic Four villains. The Puppet Master bald, the Puppet Master involved with Alicia Masters, getting her, having her blind because of what he did. Then the Wizard was an early foe of Johnny Storm. So that could be interesting. Ebba Moss Bachrach versus, who's playing Johnny Storm again? Oh, Joseph Quinn. Joseph Quinn versus Malkovich could be a fun little back and forth. But the voice of Herbie, to have that kind of droll, it reminds me of Alan Rickman in Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. You could see that kind of droll approach that can be sarcastic, can give the Fantastic Four some shit, and also be comedic relief while also quoting all this knowledge and scientific stuff. So it could be an interesting choice for him to play Herbie. I don't think that'd be a bad thing, but I like the idea of Puppet Master, considering he played a puppet person in Being John Malkovich. Listen, that's possible too. I always assumed that Herbie was going to go to a comedian type, right? Yeah. With guys like Bill Hader and John Mulaney, I think, at the top of that list. Yeah. But it's, I could also definitely imagine Malkovich as the voice of Herbie. Yeah. Is it starting to take on an independent movie feel? Do you sense that from the casting and from the approach here? It's starting to feel a little bit like an independent movie, Fantastic Four. I know it's a big IP, it's a big name, but the casting here, the lowering of the budget, Matt Shackman aboard here to direct this thing, not really known for directing massive IP projects. Do you sense this is more of an indie film route, or am I misreading the tea leaves here? Yeah, I don't think it's an indie movie by any means. I mean, we're still talking about Galactus. He's a planet eater. He's not gonna have a monologue in front of a mirror smoking a cigarette about how his childhood he's gonna fuck shit up. He's Galactus. So I'm not getting that indie vibe, no. Okay, all right. I mean, Julia Garner. I mean, I'm just throwing these names out there. All right. Well, anyway, we'll see what happens with it. I'm sure more stories will break on Fantastic Four, and finally some plot details, maybe a trailer at some point down the road here very soon. We will see.
But just throwing it out there about these. All right, let's move on to, and just a reminder, send in your Streamlabs super chats, everybody. We got one super chat. Would love to get some more as we go through these.
This is going to be a memorable episode, okay? So get your super chats in because this episode will probably be going viral. I don't know what you think I'm doing over here.
Yeah, come on, people, get your stuff in. All right, let's move on to this other rumor or this other story here. This is a rumor here, Jeff, that has started to pick up a little bit of steam. According to My Time to Shine, hello, the studio wants Ryan Coogler, Marvel wants Ryan Coogler to possibly take over as the director for the X-Men movie. This follows a previous rumor that Feige was looking for a person of color for the project to direct the project, or a black person to direct the project. Barry Jenkins was apparently in the mix as well, but of course Ryan Coogler coming back to Marvel, looks like he's going to be doing Black Panther 3. Do you like this idea as a possibility? As again, this is a rumor, not announced. So if this is picking up steam, do you like the idea of Ryan Coogler coming in to direct the X-Men movie?
No.
What? Okay, why?
Let's just say we're going to be talking about X-Men.
Oh,
later in the show.
Okay. So what?
But as far as Coogler goes, no, I don't want to see him spending time on this. No, I want to see Ryan Coogler making original movies. Period.
So you don't want to, but he's going to be doing Black Panther 3, don't you think? No, you don't think he's going to do Black Panther 3 either. You think this is all a bullshit rumor?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I didn't even see the rumor.
Okay.
I buy that Marvel's looking for a filmmaker of color on X-Men, and I'm aware of a filmmaker of color who maybe had a conversation about it. But they're not at that stage, and so all of these rumors are bullshit.
Okay. It doesn't mean they might not still come true down the road, but you're saying at this stage of the production cycle or calendar or schedule.
That's what I truly believe, is that all of these rumors about directors, about actors, I think they're all bullshit.
Wow.
And we'll talk more about it.
Okay.
In a half hour.
Yeah, because you're a scooper. You got to respect other scoopers who drop and find stuff, don't you? Like, do you feel? I mean, My Time to Shine, hello, has been right sometimes. So do you?
Yes, of course. But, I just
you just sense that this one specifically. You think
I mean, what? Like, okay, this is like, oh, we'd love to have Leonardo DiCaprio in our movie. Like, okay, yeah, would they like to have Ryan Coogler direct X-Men? I mean, maybe. He made them a lot of fucking money on Black Panther. Like, he's a great director. He's the best that they have in their stable, right?
Yeah.
In terms of like pound for pound.
I think so.
So like, yeah, okay, that makes sense. But like, does he have any interest in doing that? Like, yeah, so that's what I mean.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he did win them 2 Academy Awards, which is the first Academy Awards, I think, for Marvel, and numerous awarded nominations for the first Black Panther movie. I know the second Black Panther movie wasn't received as well as the first one, but maybe this one's going to be a little bit smaller, and he'll take that one over and maybe guide the ship back into a more successful place by the time he leaves it. But I like him if these rumors aren't bullshit, and we don't know if they are personally, but I like him I love him as a director. I think as he's gotten older now, a more mature Ryan Coogler directing an X-Men film like this, especially on the heels of the success of X-Men 97, could be very fascinating. And
I just don't like the idea of like directors spending their entire careers directing the same kind of fucking movie. Like, oh, he did it before. Like, let's have him do it again and again and again and again. No.
Yeah, but maybe he likes it. What if he likes it?
I mean, and also, don't you think that him making this vampire movie at Warner Brothers is pretty much a finger in the eye?
I don't know. I think that's a thing you all have created with this whole thing. He's like, I just want to do a vampire movie.
And that's totally fair. But like, and then also casting Delroy Lindo, like, I mean, maybe Delroy Lindo no longer fit into Marvel's plans for Blade, but I don't know, man.
He wants to work with his people, man. He wants to work with the actors he respects. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think it's fine. All right, let's move on to this other big story that dropped today, Jeff, and that is this one, Andy Serkis. This is coming to us from a number of sources here, but Warner Brothers will release the first of its new batch of live action films in 2026. That is little less than 2 years away, Jeff. This one is going to be Lord of the Rings, The Hunt for Gollum, and it will be directed by and starring Andy Serkis in the titular role of Gollum. Peter Jackson and his partners Fran Walsh and Philippa Boyens are producing the movie and will be, quote, involved in every step of the way. This was met with a lot of reaction on social media that I saw. It doesn't mean that the overall number of people who are not on social media loved it. This was not met with the overwhelming, resounding yes that you might have gotten if this was announced right after Return of the King. So do we feel like this is a bit too late? Do we really want to see a Gollum movie? There was a Gollum video game that came out earlier a few months ago. I think it crashed and burned. So does this strike you as a smart move by Warner Brothers? And are you excited about this at all?
I mean, first of all, it was like I said, it was an inevitability that this was going to happen, right? That another Lord of the Rings movie would be made. If you're not going to have Peter Jackson direct it, then why not have Andy Serkis direct it, especially if it's a movie about Gollum? Like, who better than the actor turned director who played Gollum?
Yeah.
Right. And I do think that Gollum is the right choice to headline a movie. He is sort of the standout character, I think, when I think of the Lord of the Rings movies, as someone who didn't grow up reading Tolkien and doesn't like. I mean, those are good movies. Like, of the big budget fantasy films, you guys know I'm not a fan of that stuff. I admit that the original trilogy is pretty good. But Gollum, was the standout. And I think that for people like myself, like, that is the character who will get them back. And I also understand the concerns that he's best in small doses.
Yeah.
But if just the title alone, The Hunt for Gollum, kind of implies that this is like half Gollum's movie and then half the people hunting.
Right. What is the goal? What is the goal overall to make this happen? Because, this is clearly a part of the concerted effort. Zaslav said you can't have all this IP and not do stuff from it. And so this seems to be something that Abdi and DeLuca are pushing to create. And they brokered that deal where they're going to have multiple films connected to Lord of the Rings. But this is, Return of the King was 20 years ago. And yes, we had those Hobbit movies, but I like them, but I know a lot of people don't. So it left a bad taste in people's mouths. And we are going to have an animated film later on this year from the world of Lord of the Rings. But I don't know that Gollum is necessarily the choice anymore if people are that excited to see a Gollum movie. I don't sense that there's this excitement. I hear you. The logic certainly makes sense, but I don't know if the movie going public is necessarily all that excited about a hunt for Gollum, so to speak, in the film. I don't know. I just have concerns about it. It doesn't seem like it's not that exciting of a decision, I guess, is what I would say.
Again, I don't know what constitutes an exciting decision. I don't know what the fans want, or like what corner of the Lord of the Rings Tolkien universe everybody wants to explore. So just like, to me, I'm like, well, would I rather have like a Legolas movie or a Gandalf like prequel or something? And I'm like, no, like the idea of Gollum coming back and like being on the run, that actually sounds kind of interesting.
Okay. Well, we'll see.
To a layman like myself.
Fair enough. People are saying that it's not picking up your mic. I don't know what you're doing, but they're saying they can't pick it. Is your mic not connected or something? I don't know. We'll see. We can talk about it a little later. All right. Well, there you go. That's that story. So we'll see what happens with that overall. Before we go to break, let's talk about the Tom Brady roast, Jeff. I kind of alluded to it earlier. What were your thoughts on this? A friend of mine texted me about it before it was about to start. I totally had no idea it was happening. This was at the Forum. Tom Brady getting roasted by both players and comedians. Everything was on the table. Like, the skewering was out of this world. Nikki Glazer and I think Tony Hinchcliffe pretty much won the night. but the devastation of the divorce with Giselle was there to be used. The comments about his sexuality, the comments about Robert Kraft, which had to be kind of cut short. Bill Belichick was there. Peyton Manning was there. Quite a lot of people were involved in this, tearing him apart. And then Tom got a pretty good response at the end by him when he did his stuff. So what were your thoughts on this? Did this make any sense to do it? And in the end, is this kind of a business model we see changing here for Netflix, doing these live events, as they said? Is this going to be happening more and more? And the no holds barred, rated X, I would argue, type of jokes. Is this what we can expect?
Again, I've been trying to write about Netflix all week. I keep putting it off. I'm the worst fucking procrastinator without having like an editor to crack the whip. I think it's very special that what they've created here.
Yeah.
Honestly, especially at a time where festivals are dying. Everyone I know in LA is seeing one comedian or another this week.
Oh, for the Netflix is a joke thing?
Yeah. And I just like that they're like really standing by the free speech of it all. And it's like, you know what? This is a roast. People are going to get offended. If you don't like it, fucking turn it off. Don't watch it. Like we're not going to shy away from this. And to them, it's like, you have my eternal allegiance, you know, in this kind of climate these days.
Well, I think it goes both ways. And I see a lot of right wingers trying to grab this and see, we can be politically incorrect. They were roasting a pretty white boy. So, yeah, both sides got satisfied in this situation. Let me just put that on the table. He was roasted by a black LGBTQ person. That was one of the people in the lineup. So to me, this idea that it showed the lefties that, you know, what a bullshit. It was both sides got satisfied in this. Plenty of the left watched it and enjoyed it. Plenty of the right watched it and enjoyed it, because everybody can come together on their hatred of Tom Brady. And I thought he was a great sport about it, although it felt like the Giselle stuff was cutting real close for him. And the Aaron Hernandez stuff was crazy. And of course, Giselle and Aaron Hernandez's significant other responded afterwards the next day, complaining that they'd gone too far and they were worried about their kids watching this kind of stuff. But to me, I thought this was great because everybody knew what this was about. And everybody was willing participant. And they went up and down and skewered everybody. Kim Kardashian getting booed was so satisfying to me. That was so great to see. And most of the jokes and most of the stand-ups most of the sets were good. But I just appreciated the fact that Tom was willing to take it all and then deliver as good as he got later on in the show. So I hope this is a blueprint for going forward where they walk the middle, not skew one way or another. Walk the middle. We understand what this is, and we're going to have fun doing it. I got no problem with that.
Right.
Yeah. Kim got equally roasted. Yes. Agreed. Kim did.
In person, I think everyone knows what they signed up for, and it's like you're putting a target on yourself. Like, you know, there's nothing. I don't think there was anything that was that shocking.
Wow. I mean, there were a few things that were a little shocking, but yeah. I mean, the Aaron Hernandez stuff. And certainly, now, what did you think? Did you think that was a bit with Jeff Ross about Robert Kraft and Tom Brady telling him not to do that shit? Or do you think that was actually Tom Brady walking up there for real?
He's like, you know, he's like a father figure to him. He's like, lay off him. That's not. But like, do you think he was actually upset? Like, that was obviously going to come up. And if he didn't want that to happen, that would have been on his like do not joke about list, which absolutely existed. I love how like everyone pretends like, oh, you know, there was nothing off limits in this joke, you know, like God bless Robbie Pra, who's doing an amazing job with this festival and Netflix. But like, I've seen that quote of his. There's like, oh yeah, I don't think anything's off limits, not to my knowledge. Let me tell you, to my knowledge, as I know a lot of these comedians, there's definitely a fucking list.
Yeah, of course there is. Of course there is.
Did you see any jokes about him kissing his son?
Right. No, there were Nikki Glaser had jokes for that, and she read them on the Howard Stern show the next day. And they would have murdered in the show, but clearly she was probably told that he didn't want to do those jokes at the roast. She can do them at Howard Stern, but not at the roast. And look, Trump, when he got roasted, made it very clear, no jokes about how he's not as wealthy as he says he is. So they all have their little things that they don't want to be joked about. But I thought it was great. And just to let you all know, I have a 60th birthday roast planned at some point in the future. So I think there was a lot of material from that night.
So me and my friends, John, we did a roast.
Yeah?
I'm trying to think when this was. Maybe we were in college or something.
Oh, God. In college? That is way too young to be doing a roast.
It could have been after college, but like it wasn't much longer after college. And so we did a roast, and we're like, oh yeah, we're gonna do one of us each year. There's like 9 of us. One of us each year. Let me tell you something. We've only done one roast. That never ever happened again. I can't remember the jokes that I made or the jokes, but I do remember one person did prop comedy, and they reached into. This is so mean. I hope she's not listening. They reached into like a trunk and they pulled out like this twisted, gnarled branch.
Oof.
Right? And they're like, this is the ugly stick that Jeff's high school girlfriend was beaten with.
Oh my God, that's horrible. Wow. Yeah. People say I'm getting mic feedback. Does my mic sound like it's off, Jeff? I think what you guys are hearing is Jeff.
You want me to unplug mine?
No. Jeff's still working on his newsletter, so you're hearing a little tickety tack. That's what's going on there. So try. It's not my feedback, I don't think.
But yeah, maybe they're just hearing me typing. I'm almost done, guys. So
Yeah.
we're gonna have it out in the next half hour. This is gonna be a big episode. Trust me.
Absolutely. All right, let's take a quick break, Jeff. We're at that 30-minute mark, and on the other side, we'll talk some more news stories here and head towards reading you guys Streamlabs and Superchat. So keep sending them in as we go into this break, and we'll be right back right after this. All right, Jeff, we got 550 people joining us live right now here on the Hot Mic. Thank you all so much for joining us. Please remember to subscribe to the channel down below. Hit that subscribe button. Hit that bell button. Marching ever close to 50,000 subscribers. And Jeff, where can they find all the stuff you write about there on your newsletter every day?
www.theinsnyder.com. Guys, I've been delivering. You guys seeing what I've been dropping this week? It's been crazy. There's going to be more to come. More to come.
There you go. Come on, people, sign up. All right, let's move on to this big story. We did talk a little bit of Marvel earlier, but we got to hit this story, Jeff. Disney's Bob Iger was on a call, an earnings call here, and talking with people about Disney's approach now towards Marvel. And he said the new mission is to drop the number of Marvel TV series to only 2 a year, and the film output to no more than 3 movies per year. Now that's the goal. Because right now, 2025 and 2026 have like 4 Marvel movies and quite a number of series in each of those years. So what's the logic here? Is this saying like in 2027, we're going to start slowing down? Is he saying we're slowing down now so that in 2027, 2028, 2029, we're going to have that only 2 movies or 3 movies and 2 series a year? And I saw some people reacting to this from the theatrical side of things, the distribution side of things. And there is a fear here that this could affect theaters. This could affect the success of movie theaters and the overall money they could be making if Marvel starts to reduce its output. So what are your thoughts on Bob Iger finally confirming this very directly? Because he had kind of hinted around it, but this was very clear with numbers about how Marvel is going to reduce their output over the next few years. What are your thoughts on this?
They're not reducing anything. I mean, the number's the same. Like, this news story made no sense to me when it hit because nothing is really changing. I mean, yeah, next year they are putting out 4.
4, yeah.
If they put out 4.
Right. Captain America, Thunderbolts, Fantastic Four, and Blade, which is still, yeah.
So you guys know my theory that like Blade's gonna move because Blade could easily move to the next February, like that. Right. In Black History Month, that would be a good slot for Blade.
Right.
But even if it stays, and Fantastic Four stays put, like,
yeah,
the truth is that I don't know what will happen, like with Captain America and that release date. Like, that get pushed behind these other movies because I'm told that they have one of those writers I'm told that they have him like locked up for a while, so that if they decide to change it,
Yeah.
right? Like they did, they rejiggered like the whole movie basically with the
Yeah.
if they decide to do it again, he's theirs.
Wow.
Like he's around. So like an abnormally long time, I was told.
Is this the Captain America movie, or are you talking about the Blade movie? Captain America, New World Order. Wow.
One of the writers on that movie is under contract for a long time in case they decide we need to shift things around again and do it. Yeah.
So then why would Bob Iger come out and be specific with the numbers? Is this just to keep the investors like feeling better?
They don't fucking know anything. These people, come on. I think what he's getting at is the development going forward. They're going to plan for right now for the next year, 2, 3. Like these are all decisions that have been made years ago.
Yeah.
I think it's going forward. Only plan to be doing 2 or 3 a year and 2 shows or whatever, because they have like this backlog, right? They have a lot of stuff that it's like we have got too much. We don't need to be spending all this money on this.
Yeah. All right. I mean, I think it's a fascinating thing for him to say the numbers, like, because then that's something you can be held to, right? Like, if people can say, well, you said you were only going to release this many. Why are you releasing that many?
Release 4 and you released 3. You said you're going to release 3 and you released 2. Who gives a shit? Like, what are they going to do? Like, oh, I'm sorry. That's just the nature of the movie business. That's the thing. That's what they can always say.
Later in the call, he fielded a question about Disney's focus on sequels and originals, noting that the focus is currently more on franchise films. We're going to balance sequels with originals. Specifically in animation, we had gone through a period where our original films and animation, both Disney and Pixar, were dominating. We're now swinging back a bit to lean on sequels. Does this strike you as a smart move, animation-wise? Because there were rumors this week that Incredibles 3 was on the docket, possibly, and even that a third Inside Out movie is already kind of in the works. These are the rumors that I saw pop up from some credible sources over the week. So,
does it surprise me that they're leaning on sequels, or
that they because I mean, most people, I mean, the general wisdom on sequels has been like they're never as good as the original. They're rarely better than the original. You don't want to do too many, right? Unless you're in a horror movie franchise, who gives a shit, right? With Resident Evil or whatever. But like this is something where with Pixar, people are very precious about this.
I think there was a time where I thought, oh, they're making too many sequels, right? And they need to get back to original filmmaking. But it's a decent enough mix right now. Like Elemental was new, and now they're doing Inside Out too. I mean, there is a reliance on sequels, but I understand that because kids are kids for a long time.
Right.
Like you got to take advantage of that window sort of while you can. So, the little kids who were, I guess maybe preteens now who were little kids when Inside Out came out, like Inside Out 2 still matters to them, but in a few years it won't matter. Right. So you have to like do that sequel while you can.
Right. Fair point. Yeah, there are weird. Sorry, guys, there are weird noises because Jeff's working on stuff, so you're going to hear that occasionally. So apologies to all of you. No, do your thing, man. Do your thing. Don't sweat it. All right, let's move on to this other story here. Has to do with streaming. Speaking of Disney Plus, Hulu, and Max, Jeff. Not to be confused with HBO Max, even though they're the same thing. Are teaming up for a streaming service here. It'll be a bundle featuring Disney Plus, Max, and Hulu. The new bundle will be available in ad-supported and ad-free versions, which will include like The Bear, Shogun, House of Dragon, Bluey, other things as well. Apparently, ABC, CNN, DC, Discovery, Disney, Food Network, FX, HBO, HGTV, Hulu, Marvel, Pixar, Searchlight, Warner Brothers, and more are all part of this offering. They claim that this is giving consumers even more choice and value, but I think that's all putting lipstick on a pig here because we've seen how much these numbers are going down. Disney and Max have struggled to retain subscribers amid raising their rates. Back in February, Disney revealed that its service had lost 1.3 million subscribers. Max, for its part, lost 2.5 million subscribers in 2023. So this is an interesting decision, especially on the heels of that sports announcement in February where they're combining services. So this seems to be the way of the future now, Jeff. At some point, the streaming bubble has popped. And I think this is trying to rearrange chairs on the Titanic. What are your thoughts on them combining here? Two different studios, by the way, with Warner Brothers and Disney. This is weird.
I think that bundling is also an inevitability, right? If you want to take on Netflix, I mean, this won't necessarily be a Netflix killer,
right?
But you can't have like a bunch of companies basically with half as many viewers, like not even half as many, like sometimes like a quarter or a third as many viewers as Netflix. It's like you might as well just combine forces. I think that the real question here, as I said on Can't Be a Show today, was like, what happens with Peacock, John?
Yeah, right.
Okay, like Peacock is really the only holdout. If we're talking about Paramount Plus, like because Paramount Plus it would be a holdout as well. But with the Sony Apollo offer and everything, they were talking about getting rid of Paramount Plus.
Yes.
Who knows if that even survives? So then it's like, well, Peacock is the only other one. Does Peacock join this bundle essentially?
Right. Well, I just wonder what the overall implications of the streaming bubble bursting are going to be on the industry as we go forward, Jeff, because how many shows go straight to streaming? I mean, the entire Star Trek universe lives on Paramount Plus. What happens to all those shows if Sony comes along and goes, you know what, we're not doing Paramount Plus anymore? The new Frasier show has gotten ghosts. Well, that's on regular, but like there's a lot of shows that pop up on all these streaming services that if the streaming service bubble pops for real and they start shutting down these services, that's a lot of writers, actors, creators out of work and less places to screen their stuff and make their stuff to put on for public consumption. Do you anticipate that that's where we're headed and that this is going to cause the creative industry to shrink even more than already it's shrinking now?
I'm sorry. Could you repeat that one more time, John? Forgive me.
No worries. Just asking about the idea of how we're hearing like these services are combining because they're losing subscribers and there's a lot of
churn. Exactly. And so by having, multiple, if you're part of a bundle, then you're reducing churn because there's always something to watch on one of the services. Right.
Right. But my concern is this. So many of these shows go straight to streaming. As I said, like the entire Star Trek universe lives on Paramount Plus, not CBS. It's on Paramount Plus. There are quite a lot of shows that are specifically on these streaming services. Yellowstone, that's another one. Like, what happens if these streaming services all of a sudden go bankrupt? And I don't mean bankrupt in that the studio goes bankrupt. I mean, they decide to cancel them. That's going to constrict the opportunities even more for creatives in Hollywood to create their content because a lot of these things.
Hollywood's been spending too much on content because no one can consume all this content. And so it's just like, well, then who are you making it for? Like, so as much as it sucks that there's this contraction, right? And we're talking about Paramount and Sony Pictures potentially merging. That's one less player, one less studio. It's bad for creatives. It's bad for the industry. Like, I understand all that. Does it make sense? And I was actually relieved that the New York Times at least was reporting that Sony and Paramount, if they did merge, they would still put out the same number of movies, right? Because you can't. There's still the same number of slots in a given year. There's still the same number of weekends and opportunities essentially to make money. So you don't just go from, well, this studio makes 12 and this studio makes 12 and we're going to combine them, but only make 12 now. Well, okay, what happens to these other 12 weekends? Like, that's just, then the streamers come to play and start to clean up. Yeah,
for sure. Yeah, I've got a lot of concerns when I look at this stuff because, I have a lot of friends who are writing TV shows who are part of the creative community and who are trying to pitch and sell or coming on as actors and directors and creators and producers. And it's just like you see this stuff constricting more and more and you get concerned for the people you are friends with. Who have come out here to do this. So I don't know. It just seems like we're barreling towards this idea. And I get it. Look, it's a consumer-based situation. So if there's no interest from the consumers and they're not seeing at the level that they normally would to sustain this stuff, then it has to contract. That's the natural order of things of supply and demand, So we'll see as this goes along. Let's see what else we wanted to talk about here. Oh yeah. Go ahead, man.
Do we want to rock and roll?
Are you ready? I mean, I don't know what the situation is, so you tell me when you're ready.
I mean, I just sent myself a test preview of it. It looked like it was ready to go.
Okay. Take the floor, Jeff. What would you like to say?
All right, let's just press the button here and get into it. It has been 7 months since Deadline.com wrote an article about Kevin Feige taking pitches for a little movie called X-Men.
Ooh.
And I am told that they are coming down the mountain.
Okay.
They're coming down the what's the phrase? Coming down the
the
horse race. What is it? They're coming down the
home stretch.
The home stretch. Coming down to the home stretch.
As an avid gambler. Yes, go ahead.
Yeah. So I was told that the X-Men writing gig was between these two people. Then I was told that there's actually maybe a couple of other names in the mix, but these are definitely two of the finalists, and they are at the finalist stage. I would expect an announcement to be made before Memorial Day. The two finalists are Ralph Judkins.
Okay.
Two of the finalists, I should say, are Ralph Judkins and Michael Leslie.
Okay, can you give a background on each of them?
It is Michael Leslie, right? Yeah. Yes. 1 second. I'm looking at it now.
I'm looking at your thing right now. Yes. Ralph Judkins, Judkins, and Michael Leslie.
Okay. Ralph Judkins worked on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., so he has a relationship with Marvel already. He's also behind the Wheel of Time.
Oh, wow.
Okay, and he wrote Uncharted as well.
Okay. Yeah.
Michael Leslie wrote Hunger Games, Songbirds and Snakes, and Now You See Me 3. He also did the Fassbender movies, Assassin's Creed and Macbeth. He did the Little Drummer Girl miniseries with Florence Pugh.
That was good.
And he's also on the list for the Harry Potter gig. Right. So it's like, what would he, what if he got X-Men? Does he pull out of the Harry Potter running? Like, who knows what's going on with that? But those are two of the finalists. I don't know how many finalists there are. I think it's a pretty short list.
That's fascinating because those are two with extensive resumes. These aren't necessarily new writers and creators. And that was one of the things that Iger and Feige were saying, that they wanted to go and find writers for their newer projects here who have a bit more experience than they were initially leaning towards. So interesting stuff. I mean, I don't think everything that they're connected to is necessarily a hit. Certainly, I'm not a fan of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., but I know people are. Wheel of Time, people liked it, but also some people had issues with it. And Uncharted movie was kind of not received that well, but the Hunger Games Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes was very well received, from what I understand. Assassin's Creed, not that good, but I love that Macbeth. I own it. And so it's interesting mixture of writers there with some hits and some misses. That these, and you think these are you're saying, from what you're hearing, these are the two finalists for the job, is what you're saying.
Yes, that is what I've heard. I initially heard that it was between these two guys, and then I've someone corrected me and said, it's fair to say that these two are in the mix, basically.
Yeah.
But there are maybe a couple of others in this, but we'll see.
Wow. Ralph Judkins so it's Ralph Judkins versus Michael Leslie right now, as you have it for the X-Men movie. I just want to make sure we get the headline correct in talking about it. Okay. All right. Do either one of them stand out to you as a as the front runner at this point in your mind when you look at their resume, or you look at what you're hearing?
The way it was described to me,
was
that Michael Leslie may be the better overall writer.
Okay. It's a British writer.
But that Ralph Judkins may be better suited for the gig.
Ooh. Okay.
And that at the end of the day, even if Leslie gets the job, maybe it ends up going through Judkins' hands anyways at the
interesting.
But so I would put Judkins over Leslie in this race. I wouldn't say just between those two, though. I have to caution. But yeah, I think that is the stage that they are at. They are trying to find a writer for X-Men. They're not talking about directors. They're not talking about actors. You got to find a writer for this movie first, and that decision is coming very, very soon.
Wow. All right. Interesting choices. Not necessarily flashy choices, but certainly choices with extensive resumes behind the camera, not just writing, but also producing and what have you. So interesting choices. Okay. All right. Okay. All right. Some people were hoping for Bo DeMeo, but I don't think that's it. I think that ship has sailed. And that is never going to happen. But these two are interesting choices for sure. Yeah.
I'll just say that I had some stuff about Bo in my story, and I took it out because it wasn't really necessary.
Oh, okay.
It was besides the point. Okay. And it would have just caused headaches, but I think it's safe to say you will not see him back
at Marvel.
I think they really liked his work.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was just other stuff.
Okay. And then earlier we got to revisit your reaction to Ryan Coogler possibly directing an X-Men movie. Do you think because these are the two writers that you don't think Coogler is going to come back, because Coogler would probably want to write the script? Am I correct on that? And direct it? Is that what your feeling is because of the news you have here that you just dropped?
I mean, maybe Feige's in the I'm sorry, maybe Coogler's in the mix. Maybe he's, one of the others, but yeah,
Okay.
Hang tight one second. Let me just get this tweet out and then I'll have a little bit more on this.
Yeah. Do you think? While Jeff is doing that, let's hit one of these Streamlabs or Super Chats here. Lights, Camera, Super Action says, Chris Hemsworth, blackballed or typecast? He is funny, handsome, and his, I don't want to say fat, but his PTSD Thor was the heart of Endgame. Why can't he get cast outside the MCU? Well, he has been cast outside the MCU in a number of things. He works his own projects, and certainly he's done his own documentaries as well. I don't know if you guys have seen that documentary that he did about himself, like pushing himself and then discovering that he had the disease that he had. So that may be a limit to him. But in that interview with Vanity Fair, he certainly made it clear that he'd like to do more with other directors and that he's frustrated that he's not being asked to do more. And of course, this is right on the precipice of Furiosa coming out, which is already getting phenomenally great reviews for now, of course. And his turn as a villain is getting some really positive reactions from people there. So, I mean, he has veered out. Men in Black International didn't really work. I know people like Bad Times at the El Royale. I wasn't the biggest fan of that. I thought he was damn good in 12 Strong, even though hardly anybody went to see that film. So he has tried Ghostbusters, didn't really take off. In the Heart of the Sea, yeah, sure. And Black Hat, of course. So he has tried to get cast outside the MCU, but it hasn't always been easy for Chris Hemsworth, for sure. So I see your point. All right, yeah, go ahead, Jim.
Yeah, no more on X-Men, really. But okay. I think that these guys are about what I would expect, like where Marvel would be going. I don't think that we'd get some like auteur. I don't think we're gonna get Paul Thomas Anderson's X-Men or something like that. And maybe it'll be some auteur director or whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, I've heard. I said that I think that the new Avengers movie will probably be directed by newbies, like new to the MCU, or at least the MCU feature side.
Right.
X-Men is a movie I could see going to someone who has directed a Marvel movie.
Yeah.
But yeah, as far as the writing goes, I think that they just want. It's all about the individual take, and I don't think they necessarily need a writer director, right?
Fair point.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So that's all you have to say on that. Yes.
I think so. Yeah.
Okay. Interesting choices is what I would say. All right. Well, let's move on. What else have we got here? What's your thoughts on this? Sydney Sweeney. Looks like she might be playing a female boxer, Christy Martin. For those who don't know, Christy Martin, very famous female boxer, broke a lot of barriers, broke a lot of walls, but also was part of a very abusive relationship, I think, with her manager. There was a great 30 for 30 documentary. Oh, no, it was called, it's one of those ones that's on Netflix. One of those, I can't remember the series that it's called, sports series, but Untold. I think it's called Untold. And that is a fantastic doc on Christy Martin. But this is an interesting choice, Jeff. She said she was excited to do this, that she wants to get back in the ring. She was like trained as a fighter from 12 years old on. And I know there've been a lot of talk about how she's not like what you think, in that you see her, looking pretty and glamorous, guys like falling all over how hot she is. but she's actually like, she enjoys getting in the dirt, fighting and stuff. So do you like this as a choice? Does this make sense? Like, is she scratching that independent movie vibe while also still dancing around with the bigger projects? Does this make sense to you for her as an actress?
Again, this is like, it's a Cannes announcement, right?
Say that again. What does that mean? Say it again.
It's a Cannes announcement, right? It's being sold at the Cannes market. So
right. Yes,
it doesn't like sell well. Like if in the international markets don't want to see Sydney Sweeney as a lesbian boxer, right? There's, then the movie doesn't get made. I mean, like that's ultimately the thing about these Cannes announcements is most of them are bullshit. Half of them, the talent doesn't even know that they're attached, right? Which may have been the case with Sydney Sweeney and Daydrinker.
She spoke about it, so yeah.
I mean, I think it's a good role for her. By the way, Daydrinker she was also going to play a lesbian. So I do think that she was maybe looking for a role where she isn't sexualized by men.
Fair point.
I mean, I just think it's interesting. It's like I heard her playing a lesbian in one movie, now she's playing a lesbian in another.
Mm-hmm.
It's not that there's like there are plenty of lesbian scripts going around Hollywood, but I feel like it's a conscious decision almost. Because it's funny, I had a conversation with somebody earlier this week. Like, can you see Sydney Sweeney as an action hero?
Yes, but not Madam Web. But yes.
Well, Madam Web is like a different case, but like,
yeah,
because I don't know if I can, but like, then in reading this article where she says, oh, I did grappling and kickboxing and everything from 12 to 19 or whatever.
Yeah.
That made me think, okay, maybe she's not afraid of getting, her face a little fucked up or whatever. Mm-hmm. I just like the story itself. I realize this is the first female boxer who had signed with Don King and was on the cover of Sports Illustrated and all that.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to diminish her accomplishments. I'm just like, I didn't really like hear about her growing up. And I feel like I was of the age where I should have.
That's a fair point. I mean, I did. And so that's why I enjoyed that documentary. I remember her being one of because then Layla Ali came after Christy Martin, and she's the one that really kind of like made female boxing a big thing that a lot of people were involved in. But this is akin to like Margot Robbie playing Tonya Harding, right? Because I mean, it's not necessarily who you would see as Tonya Harding, but Margot Robbie did a great job within the construct, and Craig Gillespie as the director of that film. This is David Michaud, who did The King and Animal Kingdom. Certainly interesting films, brutal films.
Right, so, it's going to be dark.
Yeah, really dark. And you say lesbian, but Christy was married to her husband.
To a man who was super abusive and everything. And
right,
I mean,
19 years. Yeah.
Now, again, I thought that was interesting, right? Because it described her as a lesbian up at the top of the story, and then it says she's married, and in an abusive relationship.
Right.
But it's like David Michaud, who's the director. That's how he described her.
Right.
That's like that's
now. Yeah.
Right. That's how he sees her.
Yeah.
I don't know, the whole thing. The way that they talked about the project got me interested in it.
Yeah.
Because it did sound like a real acting showcase, and he said that like it was reality. That it's not Euphoria or whatever where she's playing this beautiful sort of version of herself. Yeah. Reality is very kind of stripped down and bare, and that's what he said he was a fan of.
And this could be like Charlize Theron in Monster, even though of course Charlize like had to add stuff to her face and ugly herself up, but this could be a thing where like Tanya with Margot Robbie, like she finds a way to find the essence of the character. And Sydney's talked about it on Instagram, how honored she is to be playing this role, and talked about the toxic relationships and things that this woman has had to overcome. And as I said, I can't encourage you guys to watch that documentary. Great. I think it's 90 minutes. It's a fantastic doc that explores. And for those of you, like Jeff said, for those of you who lived through that time but didn't really know her, she was accomplishing a lot during this time. She's the one that kind of kicked the door open on women's boxing, kind of like Ronda Rousey with women's MMA. It was Christy who went through the door first, and then it was other people who kind of picked up the flag and kept going. But the story is fascinating. I think this could be a real Oscar possibility for Sydney, and maybe that's why she wants to do it. Because she's going to be an executive producer on the project as well. So maybe for her, she senses as an actress, there's a real opportunity here for her to get some recognition, so to speak. So we will see. All right, let's take a quick break. And on the other side, we'll hit a couple more stories, then get into your Streamlabs and Super Chats and get on out of here. So thank you all so much. I'll be right back right after this. All right, Jeff, let's get back. Let's talk about this story. It's kind of a difficult story to talk about. We should talk about it, though. You wrote about this in your newsletter, I think yesterday. There's some drama going on at the Critics' Choice Association. John Griffiths, who was a longtime television critic for Us Weekly, and recently wrote for TV Academy's Emmy Magazine and AARP Magazine, sent a note of resignation Sunday to the Critics' Choice Awards. And the note was obtained by the Hollywood Reporter, and he alleges that the group has a policy of expecting honorees to pay for a table at the ceremony. Despite my commitment to advancing queer and transcentric representation, I've become deeply disheartened by the selection process for this event's honorees. He's talking about the LGBTQ plus cinema and television celebration that's happening that Critics' Choice is behind. Simply put, I believe many people expect that members of the Critics' Choice Association are the ones who select the awardees for the celebration. Instead, the awarding process has become transactional. The Critics' Choice Awards pushed back on this and said there's no money to be made here, and that there were 27 people involved from the member committee who were selecting these honorees, 40 potential honorees that were vetted, with the individuals encouraging feedback. And after the honorees have been selected, studios and networks were given the chance to purchase tickets and support their talent. And CCA said the ticket sales go directly toward paying for the event, which is not a money-making venture for the group.
No, we do it out of the kindness of our hearts, John. Nothing to do with money here. We're just people who love movies.
Apparently, the breaking point was that during a Zoom call, Griffiths heard from one of the producers who said there's not going to be any money to donate to an LGBTQ plus charity, which had been one of the pitching elements of putting this together. So, Jeff, you've come for the Hollywood Critics Association. I got to get your thoughts on this. You've written out really, if people subscribe to his newsletter, Jeff, I think, wrote a really eloquent takedown. I didn't agree with all of it, but I certainly liked where Jeff was going. What are your thoughts on all of this and on John Griffith's complaints about all of this?
I just think the whole thing is ridiculous. I mean, I've said it on this podcast many times before, but like, CCA is offering this clarification, like, well, the LGBTQ, it's a celebration, it's not an award show, and so we don't need to run it past all the members. We have a 27-member committee, right? That's the thing about these things. It's like committees within committees and committees. It's like I caught Beehive, like, which I do my newsletter on.
Yeah.
In a pricing thing, and I'm like, well, how could it be this and this and like everything you're telling me? That, oh, there's tiers within tiers. We don't advertise these tiers, but there's tiers within tiers, and that's what it basically sounds like, right?
Yeah.
But, all these subcommittees chaired by so and so. I'm sorry. If you're giving out statues, whether they're honors or awards or whatever the fuck, like, and charging people, I think I heard a figure. I think it was like $30,000 a table or $50,000.
I've heard $30,000 to $50,000 a table from my sources. That's what I've heard. Yeah,
it was absurd, an absurd figure. And so the idea that it's not a money-making venture, I'm like, well, then where does all this money go to?
Yeah,
like, why are we charging $30,000 to $50,000 a table? Right? I mean, obviously, yes, you have to pay for it somehow.
Yeah,
but I was just like, give me a break, guys.
Yeah, I mean, But you also pushed back in and you said that, like, you also don't think that it should be voted on just by the LGBTQ.
Well, all of that is preposterous. Yes, I mean, the whole like, well, this was John Griffith's idea to make it better or whatever, and again, it's well intended. I understand where his heart's in the right place.
Yeah.
But it's like, maybe just the LGBTQ members should vote on these awards. Why? Yeah. Like, you guys vote on the awards about straight, quote unquote, straight movies. Straight people like movies about LGBTQ characters too, and it all comes back down to this fucking othering. Like, we just love to do it now. Okay, like, and maybe I was naive as a kid, and you just like, I wish I could go back to then, and everything is through a kid's eyes, and I just watch a movie like Tales in the Hood, and I don't think of it as a black horror movie. It's just a horror movie with some black people in it. Okay, like, everything has become about, well, I'm different because I'm this and I'm that, and you're this and you're that, and these people can do this and these people can't. And it's just like it's ruining our imagination, not just writers, but actors, directors, journalists. Like everybody's just being separated. Why, when I fill out an application to go to Sundance, do they need to know my sexuality? Why are they asking me, are you straight? Are you bi? Are you pansexual? Are you fucking phone sexual? Like, why is this your business? I'm just trying to go to a fucking film festival. It's so that they can have statistics. You know who else kept statistics? You know, the Nazis.
Oh, okay.
Nazis,
right.
Okay.
All right.
Lists of all these fucking people, and these are the bi people, and these are the gay people. I mean, it's fucking crazy. It's fucking crazy what's happening.
I think you went a little far in your newsletter because you were like forcing people to come out. No one's forcing anyone to come out. And
if you want a ballot under that guy's idea, you want to vote, how do you get a ballot? Otherwise,
that's the requirement. So if you're not going to come out, you don't have to come out. You just won't vote on these things.
But you don't get to vote. So
you don't get to vote. That's the game. You know?
Closet. I mean, it's.
Oh my God.
Why not just have everybody vote? That just seems like the simplest solution.
Schindler had a list too, Jeff. Yeah, Jeff. Schindler had a list as well. But listen, I get where you're coming from.
Comeback. That was a fucking genius.
Right? That was a good comeback. I get where you're coming from. But again, I always have to highlight this with you because I get where you're coming from. And you know what? I used to get angry at you this, but I actually changed my mind. Like, I get where you're coming from in that you want it to be a colorless society, as a society that is, you actually in your own roundabout way do want a society that is equal across the board. Doesn't matter if you're LGBTQ plus or straight, doesn't matter how you identify, doesn't matter what color you are, ethnicity, all that kind of stuff, gender, whatever. It's you don't want any of that. So, and I agree with you. And I would love to have that society. The problem is that for decades and still now, there are people who are in charge of these things who absolutely judge who is going to be allowed to be in what. And it isn't until disenfranchised communities push back and call out these people that change happens. So now the pendulum has swung the other way. And so, yes, you put this on the form so that people who haven't gotten opportunities from those disenfranchised communities now get a chance to have these opportunities to go to Sundance, to go to Comic-Con, to go to CinemaCon, to go to all these things. And I think that is important. Now, I'm not saying you're wrong to want this kind of society. I too want this kind of society. But unfortunately, I live in the real world where that isn't that kind of society. And so we have to create avenues for people of color and LGBTQ plus and others and women and what have you to get a chance to cover these things because it's predominantly straight white males who've been doing it for centuries. And so that's the kind of thing.
I don't understand what another straight white male's success, why that means I'm not allowed to succeed.
But no one's saying you're not allowed to succeed. No one's stopping you. I'm giving up. We started the show.
Right, we need to create special avenues. We need to create special avenues and special opportunities for this group of people.
Because there has been systemic racism within the movie-going community for decades. There only certain people can talk about movies.
Right. And to correct that, right? Because there's not unlimited jobs, John. It's not like they're made 200 movies a year and now we're going to make 800 so that everyone else can make movies.
You're right.
They still make 400. And so people who work their ass off to be one of the 400, right, don't get an opportunity because we got to create opportunities for these other people who have never been discriminated against, but their father was discriminated against and their grandfather was discriminated against. I mean, this is what we're talking about. And it's fucked up. It's fucked up. And then there's a pushback to it now. And you can see it coming.
Oh, sure.
Happening this past weekend in comedy because people are sick of it. They're fucking sick of walking on fucking eggshells.
That's fair. I don't think it's what that has to do with applying for this, but okay, if you want to make that connection, feel free. But the other side of it is this: for decades, people of color and women worked their fucking asses off and were still never selected to go to these functions, to go to these festivals, to go to these cons because they were women or they were LGBTQ plus or they were people of color or they were black. And people in charge of it thought, well, we're not going to get big coverage because there's not a lot of attention from those communities on the things we're doing. So, Jeff, this is the pushback. And unfortunately, it's y'all's fault. It's white people's fault. You guys did this. Now, well-meaning, well-intentioned white people are coming forward and wanting to be allies and creating space for LGBTQ and people of color. And guess what? Less white people are going to have opportunities. You know why? Because it's exactly what you're talking about. An inclusive colorblind society means less room for white people to own everything and have everything. That's the game. That's the reality of diversity, man.
You're arguing against still, or not you necessarily, but people are still arguing on behalf of inclusion, and we got to have
diversity.
This.
Yes,
we can have this. We got to have this guy in the writing room. He goes home, he sucks dick at night. We got to have this.
Jeff. Come on, that's too far.
Whatever. I'm just
okay.
That's what gay men do. I mean, I do other stuff.
All right, sure.
It's fine. But it's like, so this person's gay, and so they get to be in the writer's room over someone who's not gay. Like,
yes. Because for many years,
not only over someone who's not gay, but
right.
over someone who could very well be gay, but
Fair
because
point.
they're out and proud about it, and they do shit in the privacy of their own bedroom, they don't get the opportunity.
Yeah, but how many?
I'm arguing in favor of a merit-based, like, what happened to merit, and
but that doesn't exist, and that never existed. But that's what I'm trying to tell you. That never existed. You operate under the fallacy that merit-based system ever existed. It never existed.
Just because it never existed, John, doesn't mean it can't exist. We're both saying that's what it should be,
right? But
try to build a world where that's what it is. Why do we have to accept the fact that it's not a merit-based world?
Well, that's what I'm trying to explain to you. I think by creating the opportunities for people of color and LGBTQ plus and women to be more a part of the conversation, be in more of these writer rooms, having these opportunities. And most of the time, they are pretty qualified. And you're adhering to this idea that they're somehow not qualified. Most people who get to that position are qualified, and it is hopefully going to open the perception of these predominantly white showrunners, and it is still predominantly massively white showrunners, that other people who don't look like them can be in these writers' rooms and deliver the comedy, deliver a writing, deliver great stuff. So you can have in the future, generations from now, a colorblind society, a merit-based society. That's the overall goal here. No one's wanting a handout, Jeff.
White people have abused this system in Hollywood.
Yes.
They're only hiring their white friends. And
their white friends are white family members. Yes.
Right. That's why these communities of color need the avenues to be created. Because, but it's like, well, why can't we just get better people in there? Like, why can't we just get, like, I never looked at this shit when I ran sites or whatever. I just wanted the best writers. I don't give a fuck who you sleep with or what race you are. And I'm a villain for this. I'm a villain because I don't care that you're black. You being gay doesn't fucking matter to me. And I'm a bad guy for this.
I don't see how you're a villain if that's
what I am. Look at the chat. Look at the chat, because it doesn't matter to me.
Listen, everyone's not always going to agree with you, brother. Like we some people coming against me in our discussions as well. I'm not always going to please everybody. That's part of both of us being opinionated.
People have been brainwashed. They can't make up their own minds. They're lemmings. The majority of people are lemmings. They're afraid to say what I'm saying right now.
I don't think so. I don't know that people are afraid necessarily nowadays. I mean, and if they are afraid, welcome to the world that people of color and women and LGBTQ plus and black people have lived in for decades. Being afraid to upset the white person in the room, being afraid to unsettle the white person in the room because you'll lose the job or you won't get promoted or you'll be seen as aggressive or you won't, all these things. White people getting a little taste of their own medicine is not a negative, Jeff. It's about expanding your mind to understand what you've been put, not you personally, obviously, but what that community has put so many people through for decades all over the world, not just in America, all over the world. And so that's all that's about.
That there's something so pure about sports, because in sports, they don't give a fuck what color you are.
Are you insane? The Caitlin Clark reverse racism has been off the charts. People I've seen a lot of black pundits, a lot of black female ball players coming after her because they claim that because she's white and straight and from the Midwest, she's getting elevated over other players who are black or lesbian or from a different ethnicity. And I defend Caitlin Clark because that woman has skills with a Z, skills, and she can do the job.
But I'm saying if there was a black player who's going out and abusing
racism going
on the court every night, she would be bigger than Caitlin Clark.
What? Say that again. Say that again.
There's a black player who goes out on that court and starts taking it to Caitlin Clark. She'll be a bigger celebrity than Caitlin Clark.
Asia Wilson. There's a lot of black ball players in WNBA who can handle Caitlin Clark just fine, but they have never gotten the amount of attention Caitlin has. I think Caitlin's earned it and she deserves it, but it's a reverse racism thing where you're seeing people of color and black people going after her and LGBTQ plus going after her because she's straight
when
white.
The 11 guys take the football field, do you think the fucking coach is out there saying, well, we need a white guy out there to balance things out?
No, of course not. It's the best player. But you also know this, Jeff, for many decades.
Why can't a writer's room be the same thing?
But for many decades, Jeff, there was a stigma against black quarterbacks up until the last 15 to 20 years. You know this. So
right.
Sports has never been the place either.
And the game evolved. So why isn't Hollywood evolved into a colorblind thing? Because
we're still in the evolution. It's only been what's been 3 years since Black Lives Matter and everything. We're in the evolution phase, Jeff. This is what's happening now. And of course, white people are pushing back because they've gotten a taste of their own medicine for decades that they've done to other communities, and they're upset and they're mad. And you're saying all these people are pushing back. Yes, and it's predominantly white people. Yes, there are still black people and Latinos and others, Asians pushing back, but it's mostly white people because they're feeling disenfranchised. And the whole thing is welcome to our worlds for a majority of our lives. And so that's all that's supposed to be happening. But, I get where you're coming from. I'm just trying to help you to understand where people who believe in this stuff are coming from. And I think there are plenty of accomplished people who have not been getting opportunities, have never gotten opportunities for many, many years.
It's their own fault. Not everybody gets a fucking opportunity. This is Hollywood. Nobody owes you a goddamn opportunity. We're pretending that there were no black actors or black filmmakers in the 80s or the 90s or 2000s making movies that I grew up on.
Yeah, that's fair. There were some, but they were nowhere near the percentage of the number of white filmmakers.
Why do we need to have equal percentages or balanced percentages that reflect the American population? Just give me the best. And if the best ends up being 50% black people, great. And if it ends up being 2% black people, great. It shouldn't matter. The name on the fucking screenplay cover shouldn't matter.
I agree with you overall for your overall opinion, but unfortunately, we're not there yet as a society.
That's sad. That's fucked up because I'm an enlightened, elevated individual, and that's why I seem like such a fucking crazy person because you're actually all way behind me.
No, that's not true at all. What you're talking about, though, because you just said right now, I got to go back to your point. You just said, you know what? Not everyone gets an opportunity. Why can't you turn that argument on yourself? Guess what, Jeff? You don't get the opportunity this time. You're someone else who worked harder and worked just as hard as you, that is a person of color, an LGBTQ person. They get the opportunity. Suck it up. You're not going to get it. Move on.
Right.
Why can't you turn that same argument on yourself?
I already got my opportunities, right? And so that's how I think that the trades look at me like, well, we already gave him an opportunity. So we're going to give an opportunity to somebody else. And it's like, okay, be my guest. Take the next 10 years training this person.
Right.
It's not going to make a difference.
I don't know.
At the end of the day, I'm the better choice for your publication. But
well, you have to believe.
If you want to invest in someone and develop someone, go for it. Be my guest. Good luck.
But do you really think that the reason you're not getting opportunities is because you're a white man? Is not because of some of the bridges that you've burned in some of the comments and the tweets?
It's my Twitter. I don't
have to be part of it.
I've never said that. I'm not saying I'm out here losing opportunities to people of color.
Okay.
Because there barely are any people of color.
Yeah, true. Very true.
So I'm not like bemoaning where I am because I'm a white guy, and I hope it doesn't come off like that.
No, I'm asking you. I'm not saying it comes out.
I see it throughout the industry, and it's fucking crazy.
Yeah. Well, look, I understand the complaints, but until we get to that merit-based society, we can't ask for a merit-based society when the people who were in charge of the merit-based society for numerous decades, white people, did not create a merit-based society. So in the end, people pushing back on this and people who want to be allies to these communities to want to help and give opportunities, that's not a negative. That's a positive. And yes, some white people are going to be upset about it and whatever and go rage and yell at them. Go ahead. But it doesn't mean
a positive for the box office, a positive for the quality of movies.
I don't know. But we got to find out. Let's find out. We're only 3 to 5 years into the experiment. Let's find out. White people had it for decades.
How long is the experiment, John? I mean,
I don't know.
At what point does the experiment end and we just go back to making good movies?
We're still making good movies. But I would argue we're still making good movies, and we're hearing from communities that we didn't get a chance to hear from 20 years ago who are making these.
I'm glad we're hearing from some of these communities, but at the end of the day, people don't show up to these movies, and they're taking slots from movies that people do see. Not
There's a lot of
all of them, because some of them are very good movies.
But couldn't people make the same argument 20 years ago? There's a lot of these terrible white movies no one's showing up for. Why aren't they making more black movies, more Latino movies, more Asian movies?
Batting 1,000, believe me.
Yeah.
White people know how to make garbage movies too.
Yes, quite a lot of them.
Typically not less about their identity. It's not a movie about white identity, and then they're surprised when people don't show up for the why didn't you come see my movie about white identity, you racist? That's not what,
What? What? Wait, are you telling me that a majority of white movies are not about white identity? Are you insane?
What is white identity? What is white culture?
The predominant culture in this country is the white culture. The suburbia, the having the white picket fence, that's all fantasy Norman Rockwell white land. And so a lot of these scenarios within these movies are white identity scenarios, Jeff. What are you in? Ordinary People is a white identity movie like a motherfucker.
40-year-old movie. That's a 40-year-old movie.
Well, I can go 10 years ago. Hell, the MCU started out initially as a white identity fucking thing. A rich white guy with weapons who's a manufacturer. How many black people and Latino people are really connecting, and Asian people connecting to a rich white guy with decades of wealth who's been involved in the inner machinations of the working of the country, who now all of a sudden has a crisis of conscience and wants to, come on, Jeff. Those are white identity movies. Just a majority of people like them. That's all. But don't tell me that's not white identity. Come on now. Come on. Sex and the City is a white identity fucking show. What are you talking about, Jeff? oh, man. Anyway, no, I'm not white. I'm too fly cam. You be a bag of shit. I'm losing you, Du Bois. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm losing you.
I can't handle these conversations. Go back to talking about Ant-Man's suit.
Mom and Dad, stop it. Anyway, all right, let's move on, Jeff, because we've been on for a bit on this one. But a healthy conversation. I appreciate you willing to have it. And yeah, this is the
willing to have it. I think it's just crazy what Hollywood has come to, where movies are being made by, committee based on checklists involving diversity and inclusion. Just tell a good story, whether that's a story about all black people, all white people, or we could actually mix it up.
Listen, I mean, I agree with you. I hope that day comes. I look forward to that day. But I think because you're allowing because more underserved communities are getting opportunities, I think we are going to get closer to that day in the future. So you may not like what's happening now, but I think it is going to lead to what you ultimately want. At least that's the hope, just throwing it out there. All right, let's move through these Super Chat Streamlabs. I know we got to get going. Dat Boy says, X-Men 97 has been amazing so far. Can't wait for a season 2. Jeff, are you still not watching any of these? You're not into them, huh? All right. Very diverse group of people.
How old am I? This is Saturday morning cartoon show.
Don't start this shit. They're pretty brutal, man. You should watch them.
I love it. Like, dude, fuck this guy. Fuck you, Lee Mubai. Jeff, you sound a lot like anti-black people.
Oh, stop it, Lee. He's not anti-black.
It's like so absurd.
Yeah, stop it. He's worked with black people. He's hired black people. Cut it out, Lee. Come on.
I advocate for black people all the time.
Yeah. Oh, cut it out. God. I'm Latino, by the way. I wouldn't allow him to be anti-black and do a show with him. What's wrong with you all? Mickey Dawes says, I think the question
you can't criticize the way things are in this country. It's fucking crazy.
You just did for 20 minets. You're totally allowed to do it
without being called a racist.
Well, that's
you sound a lot like those people. Oh, because I have nuance.
Well, that's one person though, but a majority of people felt like you were making good points if you saw the other comments. So there's always going to be one turd in the punch bowl, bro. Mickey Dawes says, I think the question everyone wants answered is, have y'all gotten baked yet? Ordered some jank-ass burgers and had a a sleepover yet or not? No, we have not done that.
When Rocha comes to Los Angeles, he visits his other friends.
Oh, stop it. I only come for like a couple of hours. Fantastic 314 says, showing love from my dudes. 110 million Blade movie could still be heavy with CGI because other IPs have had a lot and similar budgets. Yeah, Jeff, what do you think? 110 million? Do you think they just upcharge on Marvel movies, which is why they cost so much, versus something like these other films that have come out, like 80 million for the creator? Do you think these contractors upcharge Marvel because they know it's Marvel or Disney?
I have no idea about that, but it wouldn't shock me if they just knew, like, well, this is the level of work, and that there's going to be last minute changes and like this timetable is insane. Yeah, I mean that wouldn't stun me. I did hear a rumor.
Yes.
just about how many like VFX places and post houses like refused to work for Alonzo. Yeah,
Wow.
that's why she got like the boot. It was
For
like
Victoria Alonso? Oh my God.
like she was rubbing a lot of vendors the wrong way.
Wow. Yeah, there's a Latina woman working in the job, and getting fairly called out at some point for it.
I heard her replacement isn't much better, but it's got to be tough, that position, obviously.
That can't be easy, that job. Adam Bernard says Jeff recently said that A24 is giving Alex Garland / Mendoza's Warfare an even bigger budget than Civil War. Why are they so hot on an Iraq war movie? Yeah, Jeff, did you say that recently? What's that all about?
I did. That's what I've heard. I mean, I've heard that Warfare is going to have an even bigger budget than Civil War, and Civil War was their most expensive movie.
Wow.
Right? I wouldn't be surprised. Something like I'm surprised Eddington isn't more expensive because Eddington has Joaquin and Emma Stone and Austin Butler and Pedro. Like that's a lot of talent. But like Warfare has a bunch of hot young up and comers. I'm sure their quotes aren't that high, but I think just the scope of the story. Given that it is a war movie, like they're going to go all out for it. Why are they so hot on it? I think it's maybe it's just the Garland of it all, and also that cast. Like that cast. Imagine like how many YouTube followers or TikTok followers and shit like that this cast has. It's all like young guys.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's a movie that a lot of young men will go see, and their young female fans will probably check out as well.
Fair point. I'm too like Am says 60th birthday roast 20 years ago. Oh, Jesus, I am too fly. I'm sorry your Seahawks didn't make the fucking playoffs. Lucis Camera Super Action says Bob Iger was not kidding when he talked about cutting costs. Jay Malkovich is the only bona fide movie star in the Fantastic Forecast. Can we expect 1 or 3 more? Malkovich is not a movie star, my guy. He can't open a movie. He is not a movie star. He was once a movie star, I would argue, possibly, but he is not a movie star now. He's certainly a damn good actor, though, and a name and recognition, but not a movie star. Jeff, am I wrong on this?
No, I think you're very right. I mean, I think Pedro Pascal is probably the closest thing to a movie star
at this point. Yeah.
He's still developing. But like Superman, it's like I think the cast is okay, but I'm not like blown away by it or anything.
Yeah, we're gonna see what the end result's gonna be. I mean,
sure there will be others.
Yeah.
But are you a little surprised at how white it is?
Well, I was going to bring this up, but I didn't want to start another war. But I'm not exactly happy that it's 2 white dudes who are in the contention for the X-Men movie. I mean, that movie is based.
There could be others. Could be others, but
I'm just saying the X-Men was born from the civil rights movement of Malcolm X versus Martin Luther King. That was the inspiration for the X-Men back in the 60s. So to have 2 white guys, especially one British white guy, I'm not necessarily excited by the choices. So, but
what would excite you? Some.
I mean, Ryan would excite me. Ryan, that's why I like that idea, and that's why I put it as the headline.
Ryan Coogler, Christopher Nolan would excite me. Michael Mann would excite me.
No, but Coogler's
a realistic screenwriting choice, not a director either. Give me a screenwriter choice. Name the black screenwriter you would hire.
I don't know. I didn't really think about it. I could think about it though and pick a few out for sure.
I'll give you all the time in the world.
Okay, please. Now and Again Production says, could you rank your excitement expectations for Glenn Powell's announced projects? Hit me out. You announced some of these in your newsletter, Jeff. Hitman, Twisters, Huntington, the A24 movie, The Running Man, Monsanto, Chad Powers, and any thoughts on what the JJ film is? And I should say this, Jim Vavida tweeted out and said, you can hire other actors other than Glenn Powell for your project, because I thought it was funny because Glenn Powell is having a moment, man. What's your excitement and ranking?
There's only so many actors that the studios want to back and it's fucking movies with, right? And so if you can't get Timmy and you can't get Tom and Austin is busy, there's only so many other people to call, or else you just don't make that movie.
But isn't he gonna get like a little exhausted? Isn't he gonna get overplayed out with this stuff or no?
I mean, there's always that danger, but it's also like in Hollywood, you got to strike while the iron is hot, right? Yeah. And when you're the hot shit, you sign on to as much stuff as you can.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd heard Jeremy Allen White was signing on to a lot of stuff too. I mean, Hitman is done, right? Hitman's in the can.
True.
Right? True. Twisters is done.
Yes. Second trailer this week.
Right. I feel like Huntington is probably the next thing that he shoots, just because it has supporting cast on it.
Yeah.
So it's like you don't get them unless you kind of need them. And she, Margaret Qualley, again, fell out of that Amanda Knox series. So I imagine it was to this movie Huntington, which leaves, Running Man, Monsanto, Chad Powers, and the JJ movie. So let's say this summer is Huntington. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's say, I don't know if JJ is this fall or at the top of the year, but he's one of those. But let's just say, like Running Man. Shit. I don't know when something like Monsanto goes, but that's like going to be like a 3 or 4 week shoot, right? That's like a quick little indie, right? That's like a little, that's not something that's going to be like a huge time suck. The big time sucks are the JJ movie and Running Man.
Right.
Chad Powers. Like, is that legit? Is that real? Like, you wait until he becomes an even bigger star?
Yeah. I don't know. That one seems weird.
Already for him? Yeah. Like, TV, I'm sure pays well. Plus, he's I think he created that show. He's make it worth it to put some momentum on the movie stuff. Maybe that's what he does to take a break or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm just not sure when Running Man goes as opposed to the JJ movie.
Fair point. Okay, there you go. I can't opine on these because I'm on the fence on Glenn. Let me see what he does, and then I'll be excited. Let me see a few more movies, and then I'll be excited. Jonah Clower says, recently rewatched Major League and Happy Gilmore. Do you see the return of sports comedy? It's one of my favorite genres of the 80s and 90s. I don't know, Jeff. I don't know if I see the return of sports comedies because all these athletes are kind of soft and they take themselves so seriously, and I don't know, man. I don't know if I want to see sports comedies. I mean, that Space Jam film was horrific, so I don't know if I want to see any sports comedies. Do you anticipate that? Are there any underdog teams anymore?
You just said it.
Huh?
You just said it. Did you see the underdogs?
Oh, yeah.
That wasn't terrible.
The Snoop Dogg film? Yeah, but
it wasn't good, but it wasn't like terrible.
Right.
I love sports comedies, so I hope that they make more of them. I also think that movies like that are always a good opportunity to cast young black kids that could grow up to be stars.
Why can't they be white athletes, Jeff? What the hell?
You could. You get a Ryan Gosling or whatever. I guess he's kind of the kid who popped from Remember the Titans.
Yeah,
right?
Remember the Titans, yeah.
But like,
Dan the Man says, another great show, gents. Question, Jeff hasn't been in contact with Steven Spielberg by chance, has he? A while ago, I sent Jeff a sci-fi script that recently Spielberg has as a UFO project. I don't think it's...
Dan, I may have slipped it to him, buddy. Maybe you'll get a phone call.
I love
an
it.
apology from David Cat being like, sorry, I got the script.
Sorry, guys.
I did not. I didn't send it. Sorry.
Okay. Let's see. All right. Nathaniel Molnar says having a diverse writer's room is helpful in writing diverse characters. Having diverse writers in the room help authentically create the characters. That I do agree with. I do agree with Jeff. You can tell me a white guy can write about the black experience.
I'm sure it help. But they can, John. But they can because they have, and they like. I don't understand what the fuck you're saying.
Yeah, I'm just saying certain writers. No, but wait, what are you saying? Are you saying white people can write authentically about the black experience?
Yes, white people. It's called having a fucking imagination, John. Yeah, white people can write black people. Black people can write white people. Black people know about the white experience too. It's not a mystery.
Again, because it's the predominant experience in our country.
You have to live it. You don't have to live a fucking experience to be able to write about it. This is what writers do, John. This is what actors do. You don't have to live the experience, do you?
Yes, but so many black writers are, call out some of these black characters that are written by white characters that white people embrace as somehow being authentically the black experience. Fucking American fiction
doesn't fucking get people to watch, dude.
American fiction was all about that. You know it was.
Oh my god.
Oh
my god.
Dat Boy, thank you, Dat Boy, for the super sticker. Appreciate it, brother. Ralph says Rocha is fat a slur now. You can't say fat Thor. No, I don't like saying it. So, as someone who struggles with weight, I don't like saying it. Comic Thing says apparently Disney Upfront is Tuesday and will be Marvel and Star Wars presentations with Searchlight. And is there anything you're expecting? And is this a new event? No, Disney Upfronts are Disney Upfronts new? I think they always do Upfronts, don't they? Or are they just
go to East Blue Drew for a second?
No, East Blue Drew. Okay.
East Blue Drew.
Now what? Where's East Blue Drew? Is he at the bottom?
Okay, Jeff, tell me about my experience. Okay.
There we go.
You're basically saying, Jeff, you shouldn't write anything about black people.
No, he's saying
that's basically
you're not as equipped to write about it as a black person. That's what he's saying. He's saying you can't. He's not saying you can't.
He's saying he would do it better because he's black, right?
Possibly.
Okay, but maybe I'm a better writer. So
possibly
because you're black, you think whatever you type is going to be better than what I type, even though I may have more of imagination, be a better writer.
Sure.
But you lived it. So yours is automatically better. This is why Hollywood is fucking where it is.
Mm-hmm.
Hire writers to write. Don't hire, this person has lived experience. Great. Are they a writer? Can they write? That's what we're hiring them to do, not relive the fucking experience.
You just championed Ronda Rousey getting to write her own screenplay last week. A white woman getting to write her own screenplay. What would you have been upset if a black woman wrote her screenplay?
Again, you're one of these people. Well, Jeff said this.
Hey,
I didn't. Fast rule. Are there no exceptions to things?
I didn't call you one of those people. Don't call me one of those people. That reduces our argument. Come on now. All right, let's keep going here. Is there anything more we've got? Oh, here is this the last one? Oh yeah, you didn't answer this. Do you have is a Disney upfront? Is this new? The Disney upfronts? I thought they always did upfronts. Am I wrong on this?
I have no idea. Disney certainly didn't invite me to anything.
We still holding on to that? All right.
I mean, when you say upfront, the Disney upfront, maybe they're talking about like a TV upfront. So
yeah, like TCA upfronts and things like that.
Presentations.
Yeah.
Marvel and Star Wars presentations. Yeah, I mean, I guess I'm sure that they'll show off those shows. Searchlight, anything? I heard a wild rumor about Searchlight TV. It got shut down.
Okay.
I don't know if I believe them, but
I'm not
going to repeat it because it will go way too viral.
Okay, fair point.
But yeah.
All right, let's take a quick break, Jeff, because we're at the 30-minute mark, and we'll hit these last ones and we'll get on out of here. We'll be right back right after this. Okay, I need to do that for the podcast. So let's hit these last few ones here. This one's from Cowboy Fan 92. Hi, Rocha. I sent you the final new intro for the hot mic to your Gmail. Let me know what you think. Yeah, I will. Sorry, I've been so busy this week. I will absolutely get to it and see.
New intro. What are you making moves behind my back here?
No. He wanted to. I would never put it on here without your approval. You know that we work together on this.
So. Just kidding. I just love our fucking intro music, dude.
I know our intro music is really good. So we might turn you down, Cowboys fan.
I'm down to hear him out.
Joe says, "Hey Jeff and John, just wanted to give a shout out to the movie Snack Shack, my favorite movie of 2024 so far. Incredibly nostalgic, energetic, and emotional. Gabriel LaBelle is going to be a huge star. He's even more impressive in this than the Fablemans." Jeff, did you see this one? I know you were championing this a few weeks ago.
I did. I saw it. I liked it. I didn't love it as much as Adam's first movie, Adam Ray Meyer's first movie, Dinner in America, which I thought was excellent.
Okay.
Snack Shack, though, it was fun. I liked it. And Gabe is a star. Gabe is a true star. He's going to be big. I can't wait to see his take on Lorne Michaels.
Oh, fair point. Yeah, it's going to be fun to see for sure. All right, let's see what the next one is. Jeff Rocha says, Cheeseburger says, any word on Blitz? I don't know what Blitz is.
That's Steve McQueen's movie starring Saoirse Ronan. I've heard it's like the movie to beat this year as far as Best Picture goes.
Wow. Okay, there you go. Jeff Rocha says, any Star Wars movies news, please, dear God, Jeff, we're dying over here. Please, something juicy.
Subscribe to the newsletter.
I can't say shit, but I would subscribe to the newsletter, y'all.
Subscribe to the newsletter. Yeah.
Orange Chicken says, Hugh Jackman and Ryan Reynolds interview today when asked about their Marvel future played coy. Hugh for Secret Wars? I don't know, Jeff. I mean, I think all of that stuff's in the air until it actually comes down, right? I mean, like, what do you think? He's going to be in it?
Who?
Hugh Jackman in Secret Wars?
I have no idea. Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
We'll find out.
Yeah.
Fried Pork Chop says, are we ever going
to... That I feel that question, I said no. So it feels like Deadpool versus Wolverine and Wolverine is a one-off, but I could be wrong.
Fried Pork Chop says, are we ever getting the reason why Bo DeMeo was fired and if he'll come back to work Marvel? I don't know if we're ever going to get the reason, but Bo has been all over Twitter. So, yeah, what do you think there, Jeff?
I got the reason. Yeah, I don't think he's coming back.
Yeah.
I think people are surprised how vocal he's been on social media of late.
Yeah, considering I think what you've heard and what I've heard from people I know, Yeah, when it ever comes out, people are going to be, they're going to have to take their fandom in a certain direction, I think, when it comes out. Ryan says, any word on Armor Wars? As a massive War Machine fan, I was stoked when they announced it, but there has been almost zero word on it in a long time. Don Cheadle deserves this movie. Yeah, Jeff, have you heard anything on Armor Wars? I haven't heard anything.
Nope.
Okay. All right.
I have, I'll just say that, when Iger talked about cutting back,
yeah,
I think there are things that have been announced that are not moving forward.
Okay. Ooh, yeah. Unfortunately, one of them is still Thunderbolt. So I have two fly cams. Says I mostly agree with Jeff. Merit should be a determining factor, sure, but sadly, it's mostly nepotism and connections that decide things. Yes, even nowadays. Jeff, you're cool in my book. I'm black, by the way. I hate that I have to state what race I am. LOL. Cheers.
Listen, I truly, and thank you for saying that. I appreciate that. But this is another fallacy. It's a whole city of people being like, I'm not getting anywhere because of Nepo babies. I don't think so. I really don't think that's the case.
What? You think you're not getting opportunities because they might be giving opportunities to people of color and LGBTQ plus, but people can't feel that Nepo babies are barring them from getting opportunities? I'm confused.
Yeah, I think that's an insane line of thinking. Having worked and covered this industry for 20 years, okay, yeah, there are Nepo babies. There are, can you believe it? Two talented people making another talented human. This little human who grew up around the business and only knows actors or singer. Can you believe it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can fucking believe it. That's how it's been for, millennium, right? Thousands of years, people tend to go into the work that their parents did before them, right? Yeah. They teach them the trade. So, yeah, it doesn't shock me. But believe me, you only hear about a fraction of these people.
Yeah,
you hear
true.
about the fucking Mod Apatows, right? Well,
yeah.
Iris Apatow popped up in the bubble for a second, but do you see her out there? There's a lot of kids who want to be in this business and they can't hack it. And the industry in that case doesn't give a shit.
Yeah. Moved on.
It's okay, well, we don't really care who your dad is. People, I was always sensitive about Max Landis, right? Because people are you're only getting hired because your dad's John Landis. Is John Landis writing the script? John Landis is not in Hollywood's good graces. So if Max is getting hired by studios, they're getting hired by studios who want to work with him.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. It wasn't because his dad wrote a movie 30 years ago. It's such a bizarre argument that people put forth like that. So I reject your argument about Nepo babies.
I reject your argument categorically.
They try to get into this business and they fail because they're not talented like their parents.
Yeah, it's a tough business. And yes, it takes connections like any business. And you have to fight and, stay in the fight if you want to keep going. Every person who succeeds says that it's all about outlasting everybody else. And unfortunately, that you have to swallow a lot of pride. You have to sacrifice a lot sometimes in order to get there. But every journey is different.
And the Nepo babies get opportunities. I'm not saying you guys are making this shit up. I'm not trying to gaslight you, but they don't stick around.
Right. The bad ones don't stick around.
You may get the foot in the door, but you don't get to stay here unless you are talented.
Frank Stallone rode his brother's D to success. He had one hit song. That's it. But no one was handing him mainstream theatrical movies to lead. Patrick Swayze, the world is lit. Michelle Pfeiffer's sister, the world is littered with people and their children.
And siblings.
And siblings who try to make it because they had a famous sibling, but the ones that aren't good don't survive. They don't. They end up in the B movies or straight to DVD movies, but they don't survive at the upper echelon unless they're actually good.
Like sports, and I get it. Okay, right. Antetokounmpo, right? We're gonna have your brother on the team because you want your brother around,
right?
But he doesn't stay there for Antetokounmpo's 12-year run. He's there at the beginning, taking up space. But eventually, it's listen, we can't do this forever.
And he got
with these actors,
and he got skewered with his injury because he was in Cancun, and people were like, "What is he doing in Cancun, tearing an Achilles?" That tells you how little they cared about his brother. It's about Giannis, not about his brother.
Clarissa brings up the Shyamalans. Okay, so those girls deserve an opportunity. Their father's a famous director, so they don't get an opportunity. Ishana, earned it. She directed episodes of Servant. Like, he didn't just hand her a feature, right? And
she learned it.
Yeah, I just,
and we'll see, because if the movie comes out and it doesn't do well,
right, she won't get a second one.
She might not get a second one. And if she doesn't do well, she really won't get a third one. So yeah, that's the thing at the end of the day. Let's see. Tess said, any thoughts on the Cannes Film Festival lineup? Have you ever attended? No, I've never attended. And as I get older, honestly, going to a film festival in another country makes me feel fucking exhausted. So I'll probably never go. Jeff?
I'm with you, John. I've never had a desire to do Cannes, and it's like you got to like pack tuxedos. You got to wear a tuxedo while watching a movie the whole time. You got to have the right shoes. You got to have the right badge. It's just like this bullshit. It's like going back to high school. Yeah, and I'm sure it's beautiful in the south of France, and it's all beautiful people, and great European art house movies and everything. But like even the practice of like timings, applause, and booing, and
standing
movies, like that doesn't really happen at Sundance.
Right.
It's a whole fucking weird thing over there. I really don't. I'd like to do it maybe one time in my life, but I don't regret not going.
Yeah, true. I agree. All right, let's see. One last one, and we'll get on out of here.
The Crystal Lake one. There was one that Crystal Lake.
Oh, yeah. We should talk about this. What's going on with Camp Crystal Lake, Jeff? Bryan Fuller, leftover creative differences. What happened there, buddy?
I mean, I just love that, like, I clearly shook the tree and said A24. I used the phrase pulled the plug on this show. And then Bloody Disgusting. And again, they did a good job. Like, I again think that we were saying close to the same thing, but they're like, this show has not been canceled. Okay, but it was going down this path for 2 years. Okay. They had hired a line producer in March. He was about to start casting up and to go in production. Now it's back at square one. So the last 2 years of progress, you lose your showrunner, you lose your story idea, all the scripts that you wrote. Yeah. You're back at square one. They pulled the plug. They fucking pulled the plug. That's what I mean. I said in the story, is this a temporary or permanent decision? I was unclear. Yeah. Okay. It's a temporary one in the sense that, okay, we still want to move forward with a show, and B, a show at Peacock. Yeah. But yeah, it's going to be a completely new idea from completely different people. Yeah, I mean, this is what happens when you run a fucking independent newsletter. They don't hand you the press release like you're at the trades. This is what actual journalism looks like, and that's why it pisses me off when people think I just get handed everything on a platter, like the time that Variety's Adam B. Very accused me of fucking breaking embargo, and it's like, bro, you think I broke embargo because you think everything just gets handed to you on a silver platter, and it doesn't. There's actual journalists doing real work out here.
All right, Matt says, long fan of the show. Was wondering if you guys saw the big Disney TVA leak. Saw some cool things in there, like the canceled Darkwing Duck Show Bible. I didn't even hear about this. Did you hear about this? A Disney TVA link?
I don't even know what that means. Like the TVA, like from Marvel?
From Marvel. Look, I'm happy you even know what that is. So,
what is the TVA?
Oh, Disney Television Animation Bible was apparently leaked or something. Well, I don't go hunting for leaks, so I don't see this kind of stuff. So. Maybe Jeff, as a journalist, maybe to get an idea of stuff, but like I don't go hunting for this kind of stuff. Jeff, stay off Reddit, basically.
I just don't care. I don't care about Disney TV animation, so I wouldn't go hunting for it. But I'll tell you on that note.
Yeah,
I watched I think I'm still under embargo, and I won't really talk too much about the series. But I watched the Ashley Madison documentary.
Oh yeah, I have that in my queue to watch. And is it good?
It's a 3-parter. I just thought it was like interesting as far as like journalists feeling maybe a little bit conflicted about going through the data dump, but doing it nonetheless.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm telling you, a big knock on me, at least in the eyes of Sharon Waxman at the Wrap, is that I did not go dumpster diving during the Sony hack. And it's like, Jeff, well, how could you not have done that? Like, you're the guy who's leaking episode titles on Stranger Things and reviewing the pilot of Shameless before it was made available to critics, and like doing all this shit. How could you not be a guy who goes dumpster diving? And it's because I may be a piece of shit. Okay, you guys can all think that, but I'm strangely principled as a reporter, and I refuse to play ball. If that was in fact North Korea, you think I'm gonna let fucking terrorists use me like to do their bidding and like tear relationships apart in Hollywood and shit? Like these are people I care about somewhat, or a town I care about somewhat. I wasn't about to go dumpster diving and expose people's private emails because I think that's just fucked up. And I refused to do it when I was at their app. And Sharon was really mad at me.
That's ironic as hell because I've got a feeling Sharon's probably got some private emails she would be dying to not let get leak out there. So there's an irony there. That's interesting. All right. Well, there you go. That's we should. Oh, wait. Sorry. Jeff said, Jeff, any idea if Beverly Hills Cop Axel Foley is going to get a theatrical release? Yeah, Jeff, we had that trailer and then nothing. So any ideas on this, or is it still going to go straight to Netflix?
I feel straight to Netflix.
Yeah.
I think it's who directed it. I forget.
Craig. God, what's his name?
Not Craig Brewer, did he? Not Craig Brewer.
I think it was Craig Brewer. I think it was. Hold on. Let me see if it comes up. Beverly Hills Cop. Axel F. No, Mark Malloy. Malloy.
I thought. I just don't think he's a director who merits a theatrical release. And that's really what it's about. It's not like, oh, can we make money on this?
Right.
I think it's more like a sign of respect and like, oh, does this director merit, something like that? And I don't think that he does.
Yeah.
And they may consider it like an Eddie Murphy thing, but like, I think if you're Netflix, you want people to enjoy that movie on your platform.
Yeah, it's coming out July 4th weekend on July 3rd. So.
Like, if it actually had a real theatrical release, it could actually make money.
I think if it was good, they would drop it theatrically, but I think they sense it's just a fine film.
If it was an awards qualifying thing, then they would give it a theatrical release. Yeah. I wonder if they think it is because of Golden Globes.
Oh, maybe.
I don't know if that's a requirement, a theatrical release or whatever for the Globes. I'm not sure what the rule is.
The Globes do love Eddie, so it's possible. One last one. Elusive Rock says 6 days sober. Got to start somewhere. Love you guys. Hey, come on now.
Attaboy, Elusive.
Not an easy thing, man. So more power to you. And if you want, listen to all of our shows to keep you from drinking, even though we might drive you there because of our intense arguments. But hopefully we entertain you and keep you from that stuff. But more power to you for 6 days. It's not easy, brother. So much love, man. Much love. All right. I think that's everything, Jeff, that I have. So let's get on out of here. Thank you all so much for hanging out with us today on the Hot Mic. We appreciate it, madly. Hope we entertained you, educated you, but most of all, had you leaving our show with a better idea of what's going on in the world of entertainment. Jeff, another fun show. Please let people know they can find you and subscribe to your newsletter.
www.theinsneider.com, THEINSNEIDER.com. And I think we're going to have a big one tomorrow night, guys. So stay tuned and thank you for watching.
Yeah, there you go. And you should subscribe, y'all. Tomorrow, I have a feeling it's going to be a big one as well. As for me, at The Rocha Says on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok, The Outlaw Nation on Twitch. Subscribe to the channel down below and hit that bell button. We got the Geek Buddy show coming tomorrow, and I did my X-Men reaction. At least recent episode is up, and I will be finally going to see Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes this weekend. We'll drop my review this weekend as well. All right, thanks so much for hanging out with us. We'll talk to you next time with another brand new episode of the Hot Mic. Enjoy your weekend. Peace.